Hey, I'm Debra Atkinson. Look, if you want to boost your fat burning, and who doesn't? After 40, after 50, and after 60, it gets a little harder because no matter what you're doing, even if it is working, it doesn't seem to be working as well as it did when you were 20 and 30. The answers are we have to be a little bit more careful. We have to keep it between the navigational buoys, and we can't stray from that so much anymore. There's room for some of those things we really like to do, but one of the top things on my list is getting good sleep. So in the Obesity Journal, published back in about 2013, there was a study on postmenopausal women who were obese. That means just 30% body fat or higher. That is not that hard to reach that number, by the way, and that's not the goal. But they broke them into two groups, and they put them all through the same weight loss program. And the program was effective for both groups, but here's how they divided them. One group, they made short sleepers, and the other group, long sleepers. So they gave the short sleepers 6.5 hours of sleep. That's it. The long sleepers had 9.5. Now, you don't know if you can say to somebody, go to sleep, and they're going to do it. But they had lights out. They had to be in their bed in dark for 9.5 hours. At the end of the study, both groups lost weight. However, the long sleepers lost more weight, and more of the weight they lost was fat, meaning almost in every weight loss study, every diet that you're going to do, you're going to lose a small percent of muscle, hopefully small, as well as the fat that you want to lose. The goal is keeping that muscle loss to a minimum. That's what happened in the long sleepers. And in the short sleepers, okay, they lost some weight, but they lost a higher percent of fat. And that means potentially their metabolism actually was going to slow that much more. So long sleepers, if you changed nothing else, not your diet, not your exercise, but you improved on sleep, if you have a need there, that is a boost for fat burning, for you optimizing your percent body fat. And you're doing it twofold. Number one, if you're trying to gain or just even maintain the lean muscle mass you have right now, you need to sleep. It's when all the magic happens. If you need a little support for sleep, look down below, check in the details. I'll share a sleep guide with you. Hey, how about a really quick and easy way to boost your fat burning? Look, if you're already doing interval training or you're already doing strength training, which you should be. If you're not, I want to speak to you after class. Here's what I do to get a boost in my fat burning. What I'm doing right now is mixing up a cup of matcha. Now, matcha is not like coffee. There is caffeine in it, but significantly less. It's not non-caffeinated, though, for those of you who are trying to avoid it. Part of the benefit of the fat burning likely comes from the caffeine, so don't discount that. But the benefit of drinking green tea versus coffee for me is coffee can leave me a little jittery, and I metabolize quickly. I metabolize the caffeine quickly, so it's not that, but my gut doesn't love it as much. Matcha doesn't have a negative effect on me, so I love this. Here's the way I doctor mine up. By the way, I use Peak. It matters. You can go and stare at the shelves right now. There's probably half a dozen or more options for green matcha tea. This is important. This is quadruple screened. Most are not. This is grown in the shade. The opportunity for mold, heavy metals, toxins inside of it are pretty high. This has been quadruple screened, so you know it's not. Most of all, there's a taste test. I give it to myself frequently, blindly making 3 or 4 different brands, making sure I have the best. I want the best taste, but also the safest ingredients. I doctor mine up with a little bit of stevia and a little powdered coconut milk. If you can drink it straight up, fantastic. But this will boost my fat burning after interval training by 28%. Now, in the research, it doesn't say this, but you can probably boost your fat burning after resistance training as well, because we already know boost fat burning happens after weight training. It's just this is going to give you a lift a little bit more. Guess what I'm about to do in about 30 minutes? You guessed it. All right, so here's one of my favorites. and it's easy. So we all know we need to be hydrated, but a lot of women are drinking more water and saying, I'm going to the bathroom more frequently, or I have to stop drinking all that water because I have to get up in the middle of the night to pee, or I can't stop during the day to take a break, to go to the bathroom as often as I need to. That's a sign. If you're drinking more water and you're going to the bathroom more frequently, like really annoyingly more frequently, it's not actually hydrating. It's not getting into your cells. So we don't need it just going in and then going out the other end. We need it going in, and then all the cells and tissue, every cell in your body needs it. Here's the secret: using a little bit of salt. So right now I just have some coarse salt, some coarse sea salt. This is really good stuff. Actually, a friend shared it with me. So I'm just going to take a pinch of it and I'm going to drop it into a glass of water. It doesn't have to be a lot, but I start my day with that. You can also use electrolytes. You just want to make sure you read the label on that. You don't want to be taking in sugars. Some of you are more sensitive to even artificial sugars. By the way, artificial sugars can be 200 to 400 times sweeter than sugar, make you addicted to the taste of sweet, and listen carefully, they can also still elevate your blood sugar. Yeah, who knew? But if you're having the wrong kind, stevia may work for you. Stevia or monk fruit are the two that most generally do not elevate blood sugar. But if I were you and I'm me, I'm testing that with a continuous blood glucose monitor that I had on yesterday but took off and forgot I had taken it off. I check that regularly, taking different things in, whether it's sugar or it's honey or it's other things. Make sure that you know, how does my blood sugar level respond when I'm getting that? But make sure that you're drinking not just water, but you've got some sodium in it. And you may also need potassium and chloride to help you get all of those electrolytes. Because after menopause, estrogen can make you either retain water, but not necessarily in the good way, not within the cell. You're seeing it maybe around your ankles or your cankles. Is that an ugly word or what? But you know that happens. So you want to be well hydrated, but you want to be well hydrated within your cells. One of the ways you might know is if you have that SMART scale in your bathroom and you're getting on it frequently. You know, SMART, not dumb, not just a scale that says, here's your weight, because that doesn't tell you what the weight is made of. You want a SMART scale that tells you your muscle and your body composition. Muscle in pounds or kilograms. Fat generally is in percent. Percent body fat is fine, but percent muscle is not fine, because that's a slippery slope. If anything else changes, the muscle will change. We need to know the exact real estate that you own in that muscle, and we don't want to lose it ever. So you're maintaining or you're gaining. No losses, no losses ever. But one of the ways you know is if you get on this scale and your routine has been pretty much the same and you're eating about the same amount of calories and protein and your strength training routine has still been in place, not a lot of stress, you're getting pretty good sleep. But from one testing to another, you notice that my muscle mass went up or down. How could that be? Well, here's the thing. The thing we don't like is the loss, but the thing we do like is the mass gain. And yet, if you gained it really quickly, you have to question that too. Sorry. But the point is, we maintain our hydration. The water is stored in muscle. So it's not that you lost or gained muscle necessarily from one day to the next day, Monday to Tuesday. It's probably not likely. But if you are more hydrated when you do that test the first time, your muscle will show up. We're actually going to get the picture of it. If you're dehydrated another day, your muscle mass will show you've lost muscle mass or you don't have it. And people get alarms going off all the time about this. But it's really important to know that if you had, say, high sodium foods may make you retain water, but maybe or maybe not in the right place. That's going to impact you. If the heat and the humidity outdoors is causing you to also sweat and exercise, you're losing a lot of fluids, you may be a little more dehydrated than you actually realize. And if you get on that SMART scale, it may tell you your mass went down, your muscle mass went down, but potentially it didn't. What went down is your hydration level. So you want to make sure you're really well hydrated all the time. And I'm not saying just so that when you get on that scale, it's a great picture, so that you have great use of the muscle. Because if we are even 1 to 2% dehydrated, and that's pretty easy to do, you won't function really well. At a very recent Flipping 50 retreat, the first afternoon we had done in the morning, fairly long hike. We were outside in the element. It wasn't super hot, but then in the afternoon, after a short break, we were out again for about 2.5 hours on horseback in the sun, where it was a little bit warmer. But there's a cumulative effect. We're at altitude, we're out in the sun, sleeping in a different bed, not ideal. So we had one of our members get a little dehydrated and a little woozy, not feeling good. That was just a little bit of heat exhaustion, not to the point of heat stroke. She revived after getting in the air conditioning, getting a little sodium and a little water, electrolytes in that water. But you don't want to get to that point. So hydration is really good. And what will happen when the body is stressed like that? It will not burn fat because it's too busy trying to protect you. So unless you're well hydrated, your body says, okay, I'm safe, it won't release fat. So super important and pretty easy. All you have to lift is 12 ounces. There you go. Last but not least is actually learning to relax. Send the message to your body and primarily to your brain that you are safe, that you are relaxed. Because if you're wired and tired, we have a system that goes on your sympathetic nervous system. It's kind of setting off the alarms. It's like, be alert, be ready to fight and flight, right? And what you need in order to burn fat and to lose it easily, to allow your body to release it, is the body has to feel safe. And there are a lot of ways that this gets in conflict. But let's say that you're having an argument and that is not resolved and it's really bothering you and you're ruminating about it, because often women will do that. And we need it resolved in order to feel good. So if that's true for you, what's happening is your sympathetic nervous system is on and you need that parasympathetic nervous system to be on to have the body say, okay, I'm safe, I'm relaxed, and it's okay. You can release the weight. We see this a lot in women who have trauma and don't necessarily know it. Now, I'm going to say something that may put you on edge, make you a little bit uncomfortable, but it's probably no easier way to hear this message than to hear it via video from a stranger and not necessarily in a room with somebody you know. It's odd, but sometimes the most intimate things are easier to talk about that way. With a lot of the women that I've worked with who have struggled the most with weight loss and yet deserved to have it the most, they were doing all the things. And by that, I mean, not all the things we learned when we were 20 or 30, but the things that they relearned. They unlearned what they thought was going to get them better results, namely eat less, exercise more, which is stress on top of stress, and the body's not going to respond well to that, certainly after the age of 40 and 50, because hormones just won't tolerate that anymore. But when they're actually eating more, fueling their body for exercise, fueling their body after exercise, taking good care of it, making great choices, getting good sleep, prioritizing fun and activities that they like, and recovery days as much as their work days. When I've got women who've been doing that, and they deserve and will be healthier if they do lose weight, healthier joints, healthier heart, healthier overall. So there's nothing wrong, I think, with a large size woman who is active, who is happy in her own skin, and who is fit. But when we've got somebody who is a larger size woman and you want to lose weight, but you're overly stressed and you don't know what the reason is, you're doing all the things, the sleep, the diet, the nutrition, the stimulus through exercise and resistance training to get muscle, hold on to muscle. A lot of times the missing piece is trauma. The issues are in the tissues is a form. And I can share a book down below by Dr. Amy Apigian that just came out this year. It's called The Biology of Trauma. And there are other books and audios by Bruce Lipton in the past, but this is really something worth looking into. And anytime that I've had to go there and I've said, because I'm not equipped, I am not a counselor or someone who's able to go deep into that, but to help them uncover that this might be an area that they want to look at, I've asked, based on the results that I know you should be getting, you deserve to get, there's one other area that you might want to look at, and that is any childhood trauma, things that you may not even remember that you might want to unpack. And certainly any abuse, so physical abuse of any kind or verbal abuse that you tolerated. And I've seen both come in women. I've had somebody say, yes, someone said to me this once, and that's the way they think of themselves. So that too is trauma, that most likely what your body does when it gets toxins, and those essentially are toxins, is it takes them and it surrounds them with fat and takes them out of the bloodstream. So we could be talking about a chemical like a pesticide or something that is a toxin in paint or fragrance in your perfume or phthalate in shampoos. We could be talking about that, but we can also be talking about an emotional trauma that triggers a change in chemistry that your body says, okay, you don't have the coping skills to deal with this. Maybe because you were a young child or maybe simply a young adult that didn't have anywhere to turn, and it's going to put that away. And it's going to store it in fat. And when we get those things stored in fat, your body will very reluctantly let go of those because it thinks it's better protecting you by holding on to it. So if this is you and you think there may be anything to that, talking to somebody about what could have happened or unpacking what probably is a painful memory for you, but your body has to feel safe. And so I would say this to you, even if you don't believe there was any childhood trauma, there was no physical or emotional, verbal abuse that you remember, can put your finger on, I would ask you if you feel like you were always on. And I can relate to this. So I'm a single female. So I was divorced, and I've been divorced now for 23 years. I was in a long-term relationship, but am no longer. So a long-term friendship, lots of those, but no long-term, intimate, close relationship. So that means not only am I a business owner where we assume a little bit more of a masculine kind of facade, and we have to be alpha, we have to be on, I have to make decisions, I have to make sure my team gets the support that they need. They can't necessarily see me break down, even though some days we want to break down. So we behave so much in our masculine that we may never actually get an opportunity to let down and let others see it. And that could happen if you're married. You don't have to be a single woman, and you don't have to be a business owner, but you may actually be a position or hold a position where you're kind of always on. And so it's very hard to flip gears when you walk in the door and you walk home or walk into your own home, is that releasing and relaxing can be challenging. This must feel so very far from exercise and from fitness, from weight loss for you. However, they're not unrelated. So if you're struggling, one of the things that you might want to do is just look at what are ways that I can help myself feel safe. If you are not ready yet for a conversation with anybody else about something that might have happened to you in the past, think about, are there ways that you could meditate or learn to meditate, if that's an interest or desire for you, that could help you to feel safer, kind of be in a safer future than you are right now when you're going minute to minute in your present day life? Is there a way that doing yoga or expressing yourself artistically, painting or drawing? There are a lot of people right now, believe it or not, who are taking up watercolor painting or any other kind of painting, but just for self-expression. It seems that we're really hungry for it. And I'm thrilled for that. So we're actually introducing that at our next retreat. It's going to be a piece of what we do. And again, we're a fitness retreat, but if we don't have all of the pieces, we We just don't have all the pieces for us. So that's the last one. I'm leaving you with that pretty powerful message. But for those of you that needed to hear this, I hope it was helpful. For those of you that don't think you needed to hear it for yourself, think about it. If you've got a friend or a sister or someone else who may need to hear that, and she's been trying to lose weight and she's doing all the right things, there may be something about self-protection that it's a coat of armor, that you become really vulnerable if you lose weight. And or it could be that the issues are stored in the tissues and your body is not going to release them until it feels safe. And you have to probably get some help in feeling that or experiencing it. But there are other things that you can try. I hope that was helpful. So let's just review those really quickly. Non-exercise ways that you can help yourself to burn or lose fat if you have it to lose. So we talked about just very simple things. Number one, getting sleep, getting in a little caffeine before you do high intensity interval training, kind of coupling two things known to help boost fat burn, putting them together for boom, fireworks. We also talked about hydration and the importance of making sure that you've got sodium electrolytes helping to escort that water actually into the cells, and why it's so important for women in midlife. We also touched on that because as estrogen declines, the estrogen and the roller coaster of estrogen can really impact what happens to our hydration levels. So it's not that, oh, it's so important, we've been talking about that forever, I already know that. You need to have a heightened awareness now in midlife and beyond than you did in your 20s or your 30s. Last but not least, we've actually talked a little bit more about trauma, something very maybe seemingly unrelated, but is so very important. I hope that was helpful. I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below, and I'll see you on the flip side. Don't forget, hit the bell up there, subscribe, and if you hit the bell, you'll get notified when we drop a new video. Tell me what you'd like to see, a topic you'd like to hear more about, and maybe we'll do that one in the next video.